Welcome to the Never Been Promoted podcast and YouTube channel. I'm on a mission to help you cut the time to all the things that are holding you back so you can unleash your entrepreneur. Hey, welcome to Never Been Promoted. Hello, I'm your host, Thomas Elfrick, and I'm going to fix my hair. See this? That's a hair thing. It's not actually clean your keyboard with it and cool it off in the armpits. I told our guest that I was going to be a little bit cheeky today. He did not see that one coming. No. Mr. Shawn Welsh is the podcast voice and brains and just originator behind amplifying veterans' voices on the Vets O.S podcast. So, don't drown in this kind of idea of sea of transition. They had a lot of cool resources. So if you're a veteran, listen up. We're not going to be talking about guns and ammo, but we might. I'm not sure it's even restricted on YouTube. I know you can do it on Rumble. I don't know about YouTube. We are going to talk about hair. No, we're not going to do that. We're going to talk about, though, some of the things he had to do to build this podcast and what it's meant to him. And if you're out there thinking about, starting a podcast, or you want to jump in the game, or maybe you have a podcast now, you're going to learn from his business. But also, if you're a veteran, listen up. I mean, we've had several on the show that have gone into entrepreneurship. It's a really logical next step for a lot of veterans because it allows them the freedom to apply some of the knowledge from their training and stuff, and at the same time, not have to work for a boss they really don't want to work for. So anyway, it's a good thing. So one shameless plug, and maybe two, go to neverbeenpromoted.com. And I'm going to start plugging something. It's 2024. We're filming this. I'm not sure when you'll hear this, but by the time you do on the podcast, I want you to go to cutthetie.com. This is where you can join a free community and look at some masterminds and some other kind of things we have going on to help you actually come together with other entrepreneurs to cut the tie. So I should probably show that here. I think I got it. Hold on. Technology's hard. Yeah, look at that. If you're looking at the video, it's not correct. Yeah, but cut the tie. It's coming. It's going to be fun. All right, let's add Shawn into this game of Thrones that we're doing here. Shawn, how are you?
I'm doing great, Thomas. How you doing today?
Good. Did you watch Game of Thrones when it came out, or like me, 15 years after?
I was probably a year or two behind. I wasn't too far. Same with like Sons of Anarchy, things like that. I've always been a year or two probably behind them.
Are you one of those that do you do that intentionally? So like you just get 4 seasons and you can just bottle whiskey, knock it out on a couch all weekend, or is it just like I'm just too busy to do that?
Honestly, I don't give it a whole lot of thought. My wife will find out about a show, or I'll be told about a show, and then we'll go check it out. Because I'm not a big commercial person, so I like to do streaming services and things where I don't have to watch commercials. So the only one I've been like really up on from the start to finish is something like Yellowstone. I caught onto that one early.
I thought you were going to say Grey's Anatomy. I swear to God, because I'm like 20 some years into it now. My wife and I, when we were dating. Now at this point, I can miss like 4 or 5 episodes and get the storyline. But I have been watching willingly, and it's not unwilling. It's like I'd watch something else, but if she has it on, I'll always watch it. And it's more of like I'll play my video game or something on my phone or do something else, but I'm actually listening to it, and then I'll be, oh my God, that happened. She's like, you're listening? I'm like, well, yeah, duh. Or she'll fall asleep and I'll have to watch the same episode 7 times. That's happened a lot. I've probably seen Grey's Anatomy 3.6 times every show. I
can safely say I've never watched
that. It's pretty good, actually. Let me give you the through line. Thanks for coming on, Shawn. You're down in Jacksonville, Florida. Is that right?
Yes, I am. Trying to figure out if we're going to do fall, winter, summer. Every day's a crapshoot. Sometimes it'll start as a winter day and end up as a summer day. It's wonderful.
It's you're like the Ireland of the U.S. I went to Jacksonville area. We went down to St. Augustine Beach, and if you're not from the U.S. or but you've never been there, I would recommend it. The East Coast beaches can be kind of hit or miss, but that one's got a mix of some good water. Atlantic water is typically a little more browner than I like it from the Gulf side, but the shells and the beach are nice, and the community of St. Augustine, what they've done downtown, it's really, really well done. It's a good weekend place to go check out, I'd say.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. Most people there who live there are like, okay, a tourist, we're glad you're here, but could you get out? Be great. We want our city back. We enjoyed COVID. All right, let's I have a question.
Okay.
How in the world did you come up with the podcast in like, I want you to give me your journey, but maybe start with what the podcast does, because it's an all-in niche type of a podcast for sure. And if you guys are out there listening and you're trying to do a podcast, this is an ideal way to do it, to be honest with you. It's a really good way to do this. But tell me about the podcast, and let's back up into how you got there.
Okay, to start with what we are, it is a military transition focused podcast. We specifically went into that because there's now over 47,000 veteran support organizations. So we wanted to go into a niche where, we knew we could continue to put out content, but it's important content because the government doesn't tell you about any of these organizations for the most part. So you don't know they exist. So we're trying to really educate and spread the word about them. And then that's where we are. So we do anything military transition. And then this year we also started a veteran and veteran spouse entrepreneur show to bring on veteran spouses to talk about their journey to help the next group learn how to be an entrepreneur, because that is a major pathway for us in transition. And then also an educational resource show, because the other major pathway is going to school. So that's sort of the background of who we are. How we started. I was convinced. I won't say I was bamboozled. I was convinced. So I was in the middle of my transition out of the military after 20 years, and I was starting to do a lot of things on LinkedIn. I was doing videos and things like that. And one of my mentors, who was not military, started hitting me up and saying, "Look, you need to do a podcast." And my initial response was, "No, I don't." But he kept pushing, and we got to talking about it. And so, the more this idea sort of, moved around in my head, I was like, we can try it. I have a background in public relations. I was a DJ for a while. I enjoy entertaining.
Well, what was your DJ name?
Oh, no.
It wasn't DJ Welsh? Come on.
No. So I was a mobile DJ.
Oh, you're walking right over that. It's got to be. Now I want to know. I want to know.
There are such a small number of people that know the name that I actually came up with and hardly ever used. So I don't know if we're ready to release it here. That might have to be a pay-per-view type of event. But did that, so loved being in front of people, right? So we do weddings and school dances and things like that. So you're always interacting with people. And then, through my time in the military, I was a senior non-commissioned officer. So my whole job was training and taking care of troops, so you're always looking after people, trying to teach, trying to mentor, trying to guide them where they need to go. And that just, it becomes who you are. And so as we got to talking about this podcast idea, his partner in business, and they have their own podcast called the Who You Know Show. They've been doing it for a couple of years. And it's all about helping people find employment and ways to get through the ATS and things like that. But his partner happened to be a veteran. So Mark agreed to come on and be my co-founder and co-host. And so for the first year, we built this thing. And we were very lucky to have people who wanted to come on early. And as we started to grow and build, more and more people wanted to come on. And then after about the first year, Mark decided he was going to step down, which was part of the plan, because he has his other show plus his business and everything. But the best part about it is he's still part of the team. And, we still reach out for advice. He still fills in periodically as a host. So I love that about, the relationships we have. And then Eric came on for the next year. Same thing with him. He started a ministry. So, he's off doing that, but he still fills in occasionally. And now Keith is my current co-host. And we just continue to grow and build this team. And we've been reaching out to other people in the space saying, hey, we're interested in maybe doing this type of show, or we're thinking about expanding this way. Do you have any interest in being part of it? And so we got some people that are interested in coming on, and we have 3 shows, like I said, but now we're working on 2 more shows for next year and possibly a book series type thing as well. So, we're looking at these different options and, trying to figure out, the right people to bring in to be part of this team and help us grow. And then ultimately continue to just educate as best we can, all the valuable tools and resources that are out there for our community.
And how long have you been doing the show?
Right about 2.5 years.
2.5 years. So you got I think 130 episodes or so. I think I see that right.
Released, I think we're 130, and then I have another 6 recorded already. So
You and I have a similar release time. It's funny because when you if you don't know this as a podcaster, right, it takes a little while to produce them. It's like we do very little editing. It still takes time because you got to get social and all the other things that kind of go with it. And we shot well over 300 last year. And people are like, "Where's my podcast?" And I'm like, "It's coming." And we're at releasing 5 a week. And I'm like, "Oh my word!" So it's it's like, okay, the math says we should catch up like July. And I'm like, all right, shooting 8 to 12 a week. It's a podcast. Is this your prime? Is it a top of funnel for you? Is it a primary revenue source? Something, because what I want to get is for you is like the business of your podcast. So how does it fit with an overall monetary play?
So originally it was absolutely just a passion project. Really just something that, it turned into a way that we could give back. And it's been a huge blessing for me because I've learned so much through this journey, and it really helped me have a successful transition out of the military. But as we've continued to grow, we then turned it into an LLC, and, finding sponsors is probably the number one, source of revenue we go after, trying to find people that fit what we do as well. I'm not looking to go get, some concrete company to be my sponsor, because it has nothing to do with what I talk about. I want people that relate to my audience and, that type of thing. So, a lot of what we've done has been word of mouth. And then this year made a big effort to start getting out on social media, because I was a social media dinosaur. So really trying to get out there and get that going. And so we're starting to build that part of the audience, and then continue to build, the following on the different podcast platforms and things like that.
Yeah, it's and I listen with somebody who we've primarily just focused on YouTube, and wherever other stuff, and where it shakes out, it shakes out. How do you, for you guys, I mean, and I'm asking because I don't know. I'm asking you just because I like to steal information. It's so much fun to get free consulting. How do you guys promote your shows get followers on other platforms? And the reason I ask is, and I think anybody who wants to do a podcast should listen. Someone with an M and a D in their name is going to ask you if you want to promote your podcast at some point on social media. They're going to go Muhammad David, somebody. And I mean that from a data. This is a data observation and nothing more. So don't read into it, anybody else. But that's going to happen. And then these other companies will be like, hey, for $3,000 a month, we'll advertise your. And I'd say no to all of them because I don't believe any of them. But I don't know also how you go build a following on Apple, or how you do a following on Spotify without just putting out content. So we just said, let's just put out content. And that stuff should sort itself out. Do you guys actually know? or is a guy named MD rocking yours?
No, I'm not using MD. So where I started, when I wish I knew the answer for the podcast platforms and YouTube. My growth has been fairly slow in those areas, but it's been constant. So I don't have any complaints about it, because we got our start on LinkedIn. That's where I was active. That's what I was doing. So that's where I really put all the information for the podcast, and we got a decent following there. But then when I decided to get into the other social media things, I attacked it from the standpoint of connecting with people affiliated with the military.
Yeah.
With the hope that they're going to follow us then, and eventually start to build it that way. And so far, I mean, we've really only been doing it about 6 months. And it's been fairly successful. You've
seen your podcast downloads go up since doing that strategy?
The podcast downloads have gone up slightly, not huge, but the overall following and some of the interaction we get on the content has gone up, which is one phase of it, right? So trying to build each little aspect, and we've pretty much, I think at this point, we've more than doubled our following from 6 months ago. So our growth has been pretty good in my opinion. And now you have to remember, when it comes to this show, both my co-hosts and I have other jobs. So it was never a huge priority where I got to figure out how I'm going to make money to put food on the table, so that was never quite the
right
problems that we had to face. So I think if it was, I'd be a lot more aggressive in certain areas.
So one of the things and I talked to enough podcasters, not everyone on the planet, but I feel like I've talked to quite a few, and everyone, I mean, without exception, has said, if I made enough money doing this is what I would do full time.
Oh,
exactly. So,
yeah. I would love a Joe Rogan contract.
Right. And let's be clear. If most people are like, if I made like, enough to cover mortgage, a little savings, and I would do this, like, and the truth is not everyone's cut out for it because, it's the Venn diagram, right? It's the passion, some kind of capability, and somebody pays for that. And if you have all three of those, you should probably pursue very aggressively that center Venn circle because you'll have an advantage. You'll be better at it. You'll be more focused on it. And then people are paying money, so they're more likely to give it to you because of the other two. And so I say that and I go, but why not just go, given that, right? One life to live. Why not go all out and try to take, because at the very least, it's a secondary income. So why not go? I'm having you cut a tie right now. So how do you cut the tie to I just didn't need to.
That's a fantastic question, right? So
I mean, that's why I'm a podcast host. I try to ask one of those once in a while. My AI over here told me that's not true. I don't need AI for that. I'm sorry. I'm curious though.
Part of it is, my wife and I had certain financial things we wanted to do. So like coming out of the military, I set very specific goals, and the podcast becoming a business wasn't one of them. It was after the first year and a half where we're like, you know what? We probably need to make this a business, and so ironically, what we've done is we've run as an LLC this year, and next year I'm dissolving the LLC and moving into the 501c3 world because we have bigger and better things we want to do with the podcast, plus an online platform we want to bring into the picture for all veteran and spouses to tell their transition story and create this sortable database. So, we're taking something, we're growing it, and then we're also changing it, and so as far as cutting the tie, the wheels are already in motion. Things are there, it's ready to go. We're just putting a couple, bow ties on things and trying to get everything lined up the way we want it.
What scares me about a 501c3 is that you no longer own the company.
Yes.
And so your board can determine if you're going to be the host.
Yes.
And that kind of puckers you up a little bit when you're like, hey, wait, I'm the parent of this thing. Okay. and like, seriously, so that's when it can get out. And if I don't know about you, I'm sure you have seen anybody who's ever worked with someone on a board knows there's always a few eventually that's like their greatest moment in life is to have power on a board. And regardless of where it starts, 5 years from now, you're like, I don't even want to be a host of my own show with that board. So do you worry about those things? It gives you a nice channel to be able to collect money, distribute it, do it correctly, and do all that. But does that worry you at all from that the mission of it gets dissolved because of a board?
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. I went back and forth on that before I made it an LLC. And the big benefit to the 501c side of it is the mission can continue. Like let's say that everything stays cool between me and the board and I'm podcasting until the day I decide I don't want to podcast anymore. We'll then have a board that can continue the mission and bring in additional people.
Yeah.
Now, of course, there's always that opportunity that, like you're not the right fit anymore. What do you mean I'm not the right fit? I started this thing, but it's something that definitely
just build it around your brand and it's safe.
Yeah. So
Shawn Welsh feels always speak in third person at board meetings. Shawn Welsh would like to speak.
That goes over well.
Yeah, he does. Thomas Helfrich feels that Michael Jordan was the best at that. Was he not? Like Michael Jordan had a good game today, and he feels that Scottie Pippen didn't pass him the ball enough, and the coach could have played him the extra 2 minutes. He sat him down, but Michael Jordan's pretty happy about how it went.
I guess he makes enough money to talk in the third person.
He did that. And one time he talked in fourth person. Michael Jordan feels that tomorrow he might, in the future, talk to Michael Jordan about himself.
I remember watching marketing genius.
Maybe, or like the ego is so bad it's like, listen, I got to get a second ego. This one's so big. Second ego. He deserves it. It's kind of fun. I told you today will be a cheeky day. I want more personality in these podcasts. God damn it. Okay, let's do it, people. Cuss words. What's our first cuss word today? I'm gonna go with shit. What are you gonna go with?
I've always been a fan of damn it.
Damn it. And I don't even know. Bible. It can't even be a cuss word if it's in the Bible.
I don't even know if it's a cuss word anymore.
I got it in there. Don't worry. We're good. We're still under the rating. I can still check that box for monetization. We're fine. All right. So in the military, right? You're applying some of the stuff you did to do this. What's kind of the biggest, like the there's lots of stuff you guys do for your podcast, and the podcast is a top of funnel somewhat of resources to help people. If you're a veteran, you're listening, or you're maybe someone you're listening, and somebody is a veteran, and they're gonna transition, and they seem lost. What's like the number one thing they should do with your resources?
One, check them out. That's always helpful.
That can be overwhelming though, right? When you have lots of stuff. So
Oh, yeah.
so what do they do? Like, do you say, hey, listen, just start here? Do you have like a press this button?
So I don't have a start here button, but that's a hell of an idea. I probably need to take a look at that. Because
You see why people hire me to do consulting now. It's like simplify the shit out of something for me. Start here.
Like I said,
I'm serious. Your first thing should be start here. I know it's overwhelming. That's why you're here.
Yeah, I agree with you. I think that's a fantastic idea. And, because there's certain organizations that everybody has a preference for, in this world, this transition world. And like me, there's 4 or 5 organizations that I recommend to everybody because I did them. I liked them. They helped me. So that's usually, if I'm talking to somebody, that's where I start with, hey, what are you looking at? What are you trying to do? But I think having a start here type thing is a fantastic idea because there are certain resources out there that are more geared towards that start here type thing. Like there's a couple organizations that have checklists, so having a checklist as part of your start here would be fantastic.
I mean, coming out of the military, I think a checklist isn't a bad way to go through it. Cause well, and what I was thinking is if I'm in there and I'm in transition and I really don't know shit from Shinola at this point, is that 3 cuss words? Damn it. That might be over.
Now you're talking military.
The start here also gives you data. Because that's when someone's like most likely to give it to you. If you give them like, hey, listen, just take this 5-question survey so we can give you the first resources you need to get benefit. But if they say, hey, listen, I'm just whatever your questions are, maybe it's around job, maybe it's around this. Do you feel, do you need emotional? Maybe you save somebody because they're like, hey, talk to this guy because this guy, like they're down, they're low, man. That's someone in trouble. Or I just can't work for somebody. Then cool. Well, here's some entrepreneur. Like I just want a steady job. I need an additional income because I got kids. Cool. This is the career center. And my point being is you'll get a feel for what's going to matter. And you might have you'll get data from your side as a business. The flip side of that is somebody will get exactly what they want to start with. And then after that, you got them in and there's trust. And then you can say, here's some other resources based on your answers. Simple type form, I think. And then you get all their data too, which is nice.
Well, I think that's fantastic. It'll be a great way to really make sure we're helping people.
Yeah, I mean, you're top of fold. Listen, we're here for resources. Just start here. Click here. Like 5 questions. Let's get you organized.
Yep.
And
absolutely.
Yeah, and that gets them in your mailing list right away too. Probably better for that. It's all about marketing, people. And it was DJ Jazzy Welsh.
Nice try.
Did the word jazzy or thick or booty, was it in there at all?
No, I don't even think booty was like a popular term yet. It was when I first started.
Thunder in it?
Thunder.
I'm gonna keep coming back to that. So I'm gonna figure out this DJ. Give me 4 clues.
4 clues. DJ wasn't part of the name.
Okay. Sir Mix-a-Lot.
You nailed it. I went with Sir Mix-a-Lot.
Mix-a-Lot.
Let's see. It's so obvious it'll hurt your feelings when you finally know it.
Oh.
At least I thought it was.
No DJ. Okay,
yeah,
we're gonna figure this.
That's probably the biggest hint I can give you.
It's obvious. That's why I said thunder or thick. I mean, because you're kind of a big dude, so I don't know. But no DJ in it. I don't know. Actually, if you know the word DJ in it, I'm done with it. Who's do you do solo shows, or I mean co-host shows, or do you do any interviews with your show?
I don't understand the question.
Do you bring on guests on your show?
Yes.
Okay. Do you have a favorite on who you've interviewed that was like the only person to cry on this show has been me. I'm not going to say which episode. Have you had one of those?
We've had some where everybody's allergies started acting up.
Yeah, I hate when that happens.
Yeah, the pollen count was real high.
Every time I watch Notebook, I swear to God, pollen goes through the air. That and parts of Grey's Anatomy.
I'm not sure there's enough testosterone on this show.
There's plenty. I am taking it weekly, and let me tell you, for you men out there, if you're getting fat and you're low energy, go get your boys checked, because it's okay. You're going to be sticking your leg once a week and you're going to feel amazing. Just saying.
Yeah. Unless insurance says no, and then the pharmacy won't give it
$33 for 10 weeks. I don't do insurance. Just pay for it. It's cheap. Anyway,
Yep.
We'll take that offline. I'm a big fan of that for men, because we are slowly boiled frogs, and they've been taught to say that that's okay. F that. I can't say more cuss words. I'll be out for monetization if I say anymore. Anyway, so do you have a favorite guest? So let me say it differently. If someone's going to start with your show, what was the show that they should probably go listen to?
That can be difficult because we have many different topic areas we talk about, and that's one of the things we're working on with the website, is to try to have a sortable database to where, like, if you want to learn about cyber, you can type in cyber and it brings up the episodes to talk about cyber and things like that. My favorite guest to date has probably been Kristen Christie, the co-founder of 988 Hotline, the suicide awareness hotline. Just her story is so amazing. What she's been through as a military spouse, and now basically being America's resiliency trainer, and what the struggle she went through with her children as well. It's just an amazing story that everybody's allergies were starting to act up, and it really was powerful. Another one that turned out to be my number one episode of the year by Spotify was Veterans Last Patrol, which is an organization that works with hospice and goes and visits these veterans that are, on their deathbeds, and gives them a ceremony and does this whole thing with them. And it's just an amazing thing. Wow. For these veterans at the end of their lives, and, things like that. And that one was a little outside my range as far as the transition, but it was the final transition.
Right. Well, it's definitely a transition. It's probably the one we're all guaranteed to go through. Yeah, we're not getting out alive.
But those two really, to me, tugged at the heartstrings and what's available out there. And then we learned about so many great organizations like Operation Homefront. We just aired a couple weeks ago. They have a program for housing where you can basically, you're paying rent for this house, and then you're in there for like 5 years. And at the end of the 5 years, the whole goal is that you're financially stable. You're going to go buy a house and whatever. And they give you your money back from the 5 years as a down payment, and it's just fantastic to see that kind of thing out there for veterans.
Yeah. I had on our show, and I put it in private chat here. I sent you this guy's email, but his name's Aaron from it's Q Actual. And so he's like the chaplain for the Seattle Seahawks and one of their things. And, and I'll give you a short version of his story. He was low, couldn't just was like literally he decided to take his own life, and he was in a parking lot and he heard some kids playing. He's like, all right, I'm gonna wait and roll down the window and wait till they leave. Right. Cause I'm not gonna do that to him. And he's like, I ended up falling asleep. And he's like, when I woke up, kids were still there or whatever else. And he kind of like felt better and drove off or whatever else. And he said a week later, some friend invited him to some church, and he was like, oh my gosh, I don't do that. Like whatever. And he ends up saying, you know what, I'll try it. I'll do it. And he goes and he ends up and he comes back and he realizes he's in the same parking lot of where because he was homeless. He was living in his car. And so he literally went back to, but the point is that he was actually without knowing it, he had returned to the spot where he decided in his own life, but fell asleep because these kids, he didn't want to mess them up. And he ended up going to the church, and he ended up now he's like, 10 years later, multimillionaire, has these businesses, janitorial thing, and has all these other businesses. And the guy and he's an inspiration. So he talks about how to use this. And so he's a guy you absolutely have to have in there. He's a really good human. I met him on the blocks. He was one of the judges, and he's just this would be a really good one for your show for sure. Anyway, I taking airtime to go do that with you, but the truth is you got to meet someone like that, because I think one of the things I love about podcasters is we all really want to help each other find the right guests. We really do, because it's so important. And because I don't know, I'm newer to it, but I feel the bond of and I see how many people just want to do this full time. Like it is their dream job, and it's so hard to monetize because, by the way, everyone's, I think, doing it incorrectly. But anyway, they're doing it the Joe Rogan way, and you can't do that. Anyway, you have to do it a different way. So please take him. So I would love to meet those guests for our show as well, just to throw that out there, because I think that's the kind of powerful stories we want to talk about, how people can get help. And uh, just in the hospice, the families around that helps them out even more than the person who's gonna pass. It really, that's who that's for. It's to help people around them feel like not resentful, not angry, not spiteful that they have to. It's just, yeah. So I love that. I love what you're doing with this too. I mean, it really is a powerful. Let me ask you. I love it's really powerful what you're doing. Do you feel like at times you feel the power, but you can't get that virality? You can't get that step where everyone would just see it and it would just become the thing. Do you know what I'm talking about? Like that feel of like, it's right there. What am I missing?
So this past year is really the first year that we've had people reaching out to us to be on the show. We've had people reaching out to us telling us how much they like the show or how this episode helped them and things like that. And so the impact we've definitely felt this year. And then in the same breath, you're like, there's 200,000 people that transition out of the military every year. How do I not have more followers? And trying to figure out, okay, how do we crack that code? And part of it is the same reason I do the show is the government doesn't tell you about organizations. So I'm out here trying to tell people about them, but they're also not going to tell anybody about me. So, it's sort of a catch-22 in that sense.
Do you guys run Facebook ads or any meta ads or anything like this?
We haven't run any ads yet. Really, like I said, it's been slow and deliberate. So, we're starting to build a much bigger veteran following. This year, we started a LinkedIn newsletter that is really exploding for us. And this week, we also started a weekly blog. So we're trying different things. We're doing different things to get the word out and try to build the following. And, it's so far so good as far as I'm concerned. I mean, obviously, like I said, 200,000 people in transition every year. You would think that we'd be able to find ways to reach more. But, I think advertising may be the next step.
As a marketing guy, I'm going to tell you what we do to find enough guests where obviously a lot of the guests, it's free to come on our show. And I invite people directly sometimes too, but some of the people sponsor, right? And the reason is because they're joining based on promotion and community. Mm-hmm. This is the ad that we run. And this is the one you should run. Write on a piece of paper, are you transitioning out of the military? And go run that on Facebook or on Instagram. It will cost you maybe $30 a day. And in 7 days, I bet you'll have 250 people, 300 people easily. They'll say, yes. You can say, awesome. I may want to have you on as a guest. Check out our resources and put them through your Start Here funnel. I bet you will see such a giant. Here's our free group. I'm going to go to Podfest. I told you this. I'm going to go tell you, this is the presentation I tell you, is have a free community that people land into and add a shit ton of value to it. And Meta would be a good place because they're on Meta. They're on Instagram. Not everyone's on LinkedIn. That's good for other stuff. But this, just get nice to write, and I do. But that is my marketing strategy. It might be backwards for you. I'm not sure. But the truth is that works. And just write down what you want somebody to go say. Do you know someone transitioning out of the military? Are you the spouse of somebody in the military? Here we have awesome resources for transitioning to help them find the right thing so they can integrate and everyone can be happier. And that's all it'll take. And you can run one of those pretty inexpensively every week and be very focused on military and the algorithm will find it. And I promise you, for that little bit of money, you'll see significant, especially if your community is about all the things you're doing. You're just giving. Here's another resource. Here's another story. Here's a newsletter. Take it, please. Take it. Get better. And I think LinkedIn's good. Don't get me wrong. I'm a LinkedIn whore, but you should definitely be on the meta whore side of the world a little bit more.
We are trying to build a community over there as well. And that's, which is funny because like I was so late to Facebook. And when I started doing it, like a handful of friends, people I went to high school with, what have you. And now I'm seeing people on there. I'm like, I have no idea who this is. So.
Okay, it's like going late to a party though. Everyone's kind of all checked out each other and you walk in and you get slow motion in a theme song. So just keep that in mind. All right. You're like, oh, who's
my hair
that?
Blowing in the wind. Nice.
Right, I'm doing that because I'm happy to still have hair at almost 50. And the camera's not really hiding it. I'm telling you, like I have a couple bald spots, but we're going strong. I'm surprised I have this much hair when I have like zero chest hair, body hair. Like I'm like a Filipino boy. Don't ask how I know that. That doesn't sound right. My team's in the Philippines.
It didn't sound right at all.
It was funny when I was younger.
My wife's Filipino.
See, so she knows.
Well, I know too, because we get together for
Wait,
family
well, how do you know?
reunions.
Wait a second.
Family reunions, everybody jumping in the pool. It's not hard to
Right.
figure out.
Right. But that, I mean, at the same time, right, he may be 30 or 12. We don't know. We don't know.
I hope none of them watch this. I'll be in so much trouble.
It's all right. We don't edit. And there's 4 people watching live right now. So if you're listening right now and you're Filipino, let us know. It'd be great. Drop in the comments. Listen, I love what you're doing. I think you know, like in taking it to the next level is kind of part of the conversation. I will tell you, having a really focused set of ads with the idea of maybe doing some short podcasts around the people actually transitioning, what you're afraid of, and then compiling those of, hey, you're not alone. Here's a lot of other people we've had on here, and let me talk about some. And you just do a short 7-10 minute thing. It's one way. Another is, I want to give you the resources, and here's and you just start sorting your data around. Here's a show that might help you. Here's a link to a article that might help you. Jump in, right? And I think that is a way you'll probably grow your podcast and your stuff you want way faster than LinkedIn. LinkedIn's good. It's not very scalable how you're going to have to do it there, because people aren't going there for that. So that's why.
Well,
not as much.
There's a big push for transitioning service members to get on LinkedIn. Like when you go,
they should, because of professionalism. Yeah,
right.
Absolutely.
And when you go through classes, they harp on that. So that's one of the reasons why I started there. But yeah, there's a whole nother world out here when you start getting in all the other channels. And I love the idea. I think it's fantastic, and I think it's something we can also build on once we drop this web-based platform, because the whole thing for the web-based platform is for every veteran and veteran spouse to come on and tell their story, automatically through the website. And so we're going to build this huge library of stories of people transitioning.
A really relatively inexpensive, way cheaper than building it yourself, is My Interview. I think .com or .ai. You can actually ask them the question, and they respond back with video, and it compiles it into one video. Really? And so I would use that I'd integrate that flow into your website over building that technology, which would be very expensive to build and maintain over time and keep it up to standards. But it's maybe a few $100 a month, maybe. And it would be, and I've used it to get on like the blocks. And it's really good, but it compiles all your answers. And so you could use that as a way to have people tell their story. I've considered it as a way to do screening for the podcast. Hey, listen, answer these 3 questions on video camera. But that would be a cheaper way, probably, like, not to nuke what you're doing, but if you're just trying to catch video in the real time of stories, this would be a much cheaper way to do it.
No, I appreciate it, because that's been the hardest thing, is trying to figure out what's out there. I've talked to several companies and they can't meet what I want to do. I've met one who video asked that's very close to what I want to do, but their prices are going to kill me.
Myinterview.com. I have no affiliation with them, only that I've used it. And if you just want to get stories, you can, they're applying for a job basically, but they're not. It's for you can set it up. You can bastardize it however you do to make it work. But if you're trying to catch spouse stories and ask compelling questions, I'm thinking about using it as a way to kind of funnel content for the podcast. To say, let people just record their stuff, and we'll put it on the podcast as shorts of, hey, here's an entrepreneur and here's an interesting answer.
See if they have a personality.
They're not a serial killer. I think we talked about that offline. Did I tell you about that story? I will tell you later. I've told it on air too many times now. I'm not going to do it. And I don't want the guy showing up here. At some point, he'll figure out who it is. He'll realize he's the serial killer. How many could be on the show in a year, really? His thing didn't air. He hasn't asked about it. But I think that would be good. So I think if you're looking to capture that, there's a lot of technologies. I'll offer this for instantly relevant, specifically if people are trying to get on LinkedIn. I'll give you a link and some kind of code to like make it really affordable for them to get their profile set up and get a basic training and understanding of LinkedIn. I'll happily do some like group sessions and then offer some massively reduced prices to get it, because we have to pay our team something to do it, of course. But and I'm one who believes you always got to kick something in the bucket to get it. But no handouts. You won't respect it if you don't. You'll just be like, whatever. But I will make it so it's a no-brainer for them, because that is important. They get on LinkedIn for no other reason. They just look professional.
I completely agree. And we have a share of all of that, in the transition world. There's some that do free classes. There's some that do paid stuff, and a lot of times you'll hear service members and veterans bitch about, cost being associated with it. But for the exact reason you just stated, is a lot of times when you're giving away stuff free, people don't show up. There's no
Yeah.
skin in the game. They
I'm
don't
not saying
want
like I'll do a free webinar, but people won't show up unless they've kicked in $10.
to.
Like some, you pick that and I'll take all that money and go donate it to a charity. I don't care. It's just get your ass there to listen and learn, like, because you put money in the game. If you didn't put it in there, you don't value it. So don't show up then.
The only thing we don't show up to if we spend money on is a gym membership. I found
I
that's
go
the one.
every day at 8 a.m. Every
But
day.
a lot of people buy a gym membership and never go.
I got 10 years of that, maybe 15. My average gym costs are a lot per visit right now. If I average out, let's just not talk about it. My wife tell you to talk about this. God damn it, Shawn. You guys been chatting again? Hope she's not in your DMs again. I'm gonna be mad. Okay.
Yeah. No, I was just sort of thinking how I haven't been to the gym in a week. So I gotta get back.
Hey, I will listen. It's like we talked about the testosterone stuff. I wanted to go, but my body was like, yeah, no, I'm not doing that. In fact, I'm gonna go back to bed. And so if you're having that thing where like your mind, like, I really do want to go, but I just cannot get and when you're there, it's just like, oh, this is terrible. You got something off. And I do say to people, you have to make it as part of your day. And the earlier in the day you do it, the better. Because once you start touching email, like I don't touch email or anything business related. I absolutely try to, because if I get to the gym and I've done that, I'm just my mind is someplace else. So I just try to, at worst, play a video game in between sets or something, because I like, but the point is you got to get a routine. I think that's super important. Do you find when you transition out of the military that the loss of the routine is really freeing at the same time super negative?
Oh yeah, absolutely. And for me, I've always been a routine guy. If I'm not in a routine, I'm horrible. And this past year, between physical things and laziness and whatever, I got out of all my routines. And so I'm trying to get all those going again and get back into it, because like you just said, overall, I feel more clarity. I feel better, healthy wise. And I got to drop some of this weight. So I'm not this, huge guy on the podcast. I'm going to start
Your
looking
DJ
like
name
you.
was Flat Top. That's what it was. Your DJ name was Flat Top.
I have had the same haircut since I was 16, so that's not a bad guess, but not right.
Is it just white guy? Is that the obvious? Bigger than you?
That's probably the closest vote you've had yet.
Oh, okay. Is it honky?
No.
I'm gonna get it. We're gonna keep people listening to this like, this is dumb, but I don't care, because this is our podcast together, not theirs. Okay, and it's for the audience. I get it, but there is some selfishness. I want to know what your damn DJ name was. I'm just gonna make up stuff. DJ Goatee.
We'll figure out. We'll figure out. A way to monetize this.
We will. I do know how to monetize it, and I will. A shameless plug, right? I told you, Podfest 2025. Probably this thing will come out after, but I will likely do it again. I do hope you come up from Jacksonville. Come check it out. We'll I'll show you kind of exactly, because the model that we did. So if you're a podcaster out there or you're thinking of this might be a job or something I want to go do, but first of all, just do it. Get a mission of something you care about and talk about it. It could be about the Romans. It could be about true crime, whatever it is. Pick something you love to do, something you have a passion for. You'll develop a skill, and by the way, then somebody will buy that, because if you like it, probably there's a niche of people who also like it, whatever it is. And the more niche it is, typically the better the podcast does. I told my neighbor the other day, I was like, hey, listen, he's like a mega sales leader at one of the big tech companies. And I said, and he's super faith-based, and he draws lots of things that, like, things have done, horrible things in his life have happened, or he looks at them, they were done for him, not to him. And like, the mindset and the faith. And I said, you should really do a sales leadership thing around faith. I go, you would kill it, because like you have skill, you have creds, you people love it, and people would love to hear more about that. And for you, and if you're trying to monetize your podcast, well, I had a whole business model I applied to it from day one, and it worked. And I'm going to go share that because nice. I think more podcasters, if I can help more podcasters, get a supplemental income and make it a full-time thing eventually by the methods that we use, then hell yeah, that fills the mission of what we're trying to go do.
Yeah, I was surprised when we started. I don't know when I found this out, but I guess the average length of a podcast is like 8 episodes. And I was really amazed by that. But my only assumption is people thought they were immediately going to be Joe Rogan and have a whole bunch of millions coming in. And when they realized that wasn't going to happen.
Well, it's two things, right? Well, people flame out, but they flame out because they have set up their podcast without a what I say, not not even a nuclear engine because it runs out, a fusion engine. So you need a fusion engine of content. And because if you're like, oh, I'm going to talk about, the St. Louis Cardinals 1994, whatever. And you're like, but you're going to run out of content. And if you run out of content or you start repeating yourself too much, you'll quit because you'll even be bored with it. And so when yours is never ending, because there's always stories of transition, there's always ways to help people. There's always new methods, new regulations, new things, new grants, like you have endless content. And so you have the fusion piece for it. If you don't, you will quit because you'll just run out of things to say. And some people realize they're not as versed in the topic they thought they were, and they can't keep going. Listen, I don't do solo shows because I'm self-conscious. Like, I don't know. I feel like I don't know enough shit to talk alone. I need someone else to help me do it. So maybe one day when I grow up, I'll do it. All right. My final podcast question to you. I have two, actually. One, let's do a shameless plug. Who should get a hold of you? Where do they go?
So our show's for, any veteran, any service member in transition or getting ready to transition, and spouses. Our content is all about education and trying to help you find the resources that are going to help you have a successful transition. And transition just doesn't stop once you leave the military. You may switch jobs multiple times. You may decide to move. You may completely change your whole life. So these resources, a lot of them are there even after you leave the military. So check us out. See what's out there, see what's available to you. And, if you ever need to get in contact with any of them, reach out to us. We will put you directly in contact with them if you can't get in contact with them yourselves. But VetsOSpodcast.com, you can find everything, the YouTube, the podcast channels, the social media channels, everything's right there. And if you go to our different pages on the website, you can go straight to transition, you can go straight to entrepreneurial, you can go straight to education, and click right on the links for each organization, plus the show that's attached to it. So you can see it all right there in one shot.
Awesome.
I need one of those.
For those listening, I have this little device you clean your keyboard with. I was just blowing my hair again just to get it feathered just right. Here's my final question. If there was a question I should have asked you today and I did not, what was that question?
That's interesting.
You can add that one to your show. That's a good one.
I don't know. I mean, it could be more in depth of the why we do it, but ultimately,
I do. Give me the why.
The big why is that we want to help people. Each of my co-hosts that have come on and helped me, they want to help people. And that's our whole thing, is trying to educate and help people. This has never been about, getting that Joe Rogan contract, as much as we joke about it. And the whole process of podcasting, it's fairly easy to start. I mean, you could do it with virtually no equipment, or you can go spend a bunch of money on equipment, but like you just said, having a topic that's worth talking about, that people want to continually talk about, and that you never run out of content on, makes a big deal. And, I love my veteran community. I'm proud to be a part of it, and I want to help them as much as I can. And hopefully people find value in what we're doing and they can learn from what we're putting out.
Yeah. I mean, I look at your show and I'm like, USAA should be on the list of people that should chip in a little bit of money. Even if it was like affiliate, like give me a link into a credit cards and accounts, right? But a lot of people already probably have that coming out. So that's one. But like those kind of organizations, were you Army?
Yes.
Another one is just, hey, Army, we're a 501c3. Why don't you kick in $500 a month and hey, this is brought to you by the Army. Like, right. Like this, like these are no brainers. And you have good download metrics. I can't speak about how to get corporate sponsors because we don't have one. That being said, I haven't accepted any either. So, because I'm like, yeah. I love it. Thank you, Shawn. I appreciate it. You coming on today. I look forward to seeing you in Podfest. Now you have to go visit a brother or some family member that you didn't want to. Actually, you could drive down for the day and just say hi and go back.
This is true. This is true.
And you and I both know, by the way, if you have Vets S.O.S. and you just get the lavalier and you just tuck it in, even if there's not the one from Podfest, or you just take it and just turn it upside down, you can just walk in. No one's going to say a word to you. You're huge. Like, no, like, excuse me, sir. Did you pay to be here on day 2 at this exact time? No one's going to say anything. You can just show up.
That's one thing I have yet to see any kind of security in any of the things I've gone to.
Yeah.
But I don't know if they're there, hidden, or
I'm their podcasters. They'll start broadcasting and talking about, oh, he's getting a shit beat out of him by a security guy. Now listen, this is how I would have handled that. Let's bring in the pundit. All right, let's make podcasting great again. Thank you, Shawn. I'm going to put you in the periwinkle room. I'll be right back. Shawn rocks. Thank you. Check it out. VetSOSpodcast.com. If you're watching, it's on the screen. If you've made it this far in the show, you are delicious. Thank you. You are wonderful. I'm sure you smell nice. I know I don't. I've been in the studio all day. But if you got here and you listen to that, you should be like, I'm hanging up now. And that's fine. Until we meet again, get out there. Go unleash your entrepreneur. Thank you so much.